Welcome back. The Great Resignation will continue unabated as 1 in 5 workers say they are likely to switch to a new job in the next 12 months. This is according to a survey by PwC's Global Workforce Hopes and Fears survey. The biggest motivator for a job change is that people are looking for a bigger paycheck. Women say they are not paid fairly in their workplaces, according to some findings. Dayalan, Govender, the people and organization leader of PwC, joins us now for that conversation. I'm chuckling a bit there, Dayalan, because I see that my team spelled out Price Waterhouse Coopers. They're not keeping up with the times, that you are simply PwC these days. But in any case, on a serious note, Dayalan, this was a massive study, was it not? Conducted in 44 countries, over 52,000 participants. Tell me about what you were looking for and what you found.
Excellent. Thanks for having me on the show. Yeah, it's quite a flagship kind of initiative from PwC. We have done this survey over the last 3 years, and as you rightfully pointed out, this year we had representation from about 44 countries across the globe, and we kind of looked at sentiments from employees, workers around, as their career aspirations. We looked at what are some of their thoughts and feelings and sentiments around, working for a particular organization. What was the new thinking after they've gone through COVID, which has obviously disrupted the workforce as well. So, and you're quite right, we interviewed up to 52,000 people across the globe, which is fantastic. But I'm also proud to say that it also included an Africa perspective on it as well.
Yeah, tell me a bit more about that Africa perspective. Did it come from us, or did it come from the other countries where you operate and where you have partners?
No, it actually came, South Africa was also included in the survey. There was 5 countries from across Africa. It was Kenya, Algeria, Morocco, South Africa, and Nigeria. So those were the countries from across Africa that was involved in the survey. And quite interestingly, I've looked at some of the statistics. I've looked at some of the data that's come through, and there's some glaring kind of trends that are coming through from an South Africa perspective as well.
Yeah, tell me a bit more about those trends. For instance, do they match up with the finding that says usually, the desire to earn more is usually the driving, one of the motivating factors or driving factors behind people saying that they would, consider finding a new job within the next 12 months, as well as other issues that have to do with organizational culture and that sense of feeling like you belong and are appreciated?
Yeah, it's quite some interesting, trends that have come through. Some are fairly consistent with global. I guess, people looking for greater financial rewards, but that's not the, not the greatest stimulus when we look across Africa. There are things around where employees or workers rather are looking more purpose-driven organizations that really live their values. For an example, how are organizations that they kind of, get involved with are giving meaning and having a positive contribution to the economy, to society, and to the environment as well. They're really looking at, organizations that meet the requirements, are quite flexible to accommodate to some of their needs. And remember, we work with multi-generational kind of workers, so they have different needs as well. Very much so, they're looking for an organization that has a strong employee value proposition that's quite compelling and meets their requirements in terms of the needs that they have as workers.
Yeah, and one of the other factors beyond the desire to earn a bit more, which is understandable, I suppose, under the current circumstances in which people end up holding, a couple of jobs really to just stay afloat. Other than that, and issues to do with gratification and a sense of appreciation, there are broader environmental issues that I believe came through from the survey, such things as the issue of diversity, engagement with social and even political matters. That came through as well as some of the factors that people consider in as far as how satisfied they feel in their organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if we touch on the environment, and it's a global trend, but we're seeing it right across Africa in terms of the respondents. where they want to see their organizations making a tangible contribution towards the environment. So not just paying lip service to it, certainly doing tangible stuff on the ground, even from a social perspective, with the great unemployment, with the critical issues we have around, the Great Resignation as an example, another example. They want to see their particular companies and organizations having greater societal impact as well. So that's the second point. And I think the third point is really around employees looking for a culture that kind of, that meets their own personal needs. And I think having gone through COVID, many of them have done a lot of introspection, reflection in terms of what do they really want in their lives? Do they want to be working for corporate for many years to come? Or would they like more flexibility in terms of how they conduct their lives, how they have greater balance as holistic beings?
Yeah, and while you are on that point, one of the aspects that you looked at had to do with the remote working, the question of remote working. And I must say, when I looked at the outcome, it wasn't what I had expected. I would have expected that more people would have preferred remote working, but your survey says people would prefer a mix. And when I thought about it, it then made sense, right? That you don't want to be isolated. You want the flexibility of being able to do the work when you can, whenever you can, on your terms, as long as you deliver. But at the same time, the social aspects continue to be important.
No, absolutely. What the survey did, interestingly, it kind of looked at it had an industry lens to it. So it looked at various industries and where there were prominent trends coming through. And one of the key things is that, and if I look from a South Africa and Africa perspective, in fact, the average was higher. It was probably about 53% that asked for a mixed mode of working in terms of a hybrid way of working. And you actually spot on, because people want to have the flexibility, but as social beings, they still miss that interaction in terms of being in teams, working in teams, collaborating, and being able to deliver on what they need to do in a very synergistic fashion as well.
Yeah. Lastly then, Dayalan, weigh in on who is this survey useful for, and what would you hope would be the reaction when organizational leaders in corporate, in the public sector, etc., read the survey?
Yeah, I think excellent question. I think it's very important. The survey was quite extensive right across the globe, various industries, as I indicated early on. I think it's important for leaders in business to take note of this. The whole thing around the changing workforce and the needs and requirements is becoming a very pertinent issue, which is really strategic in terms of having putting a focus on it. So leaders in organizations really need to start looking at how they embrace what's coming out of the survey as key trends. And I used a typical example. Every organization has policies and procedures in terms of how they manage their people. But remember, we did not see COVID come through, and COVID has disrupted the world. It's really exacerbated many other disruptors that we have in the world. So organizations have to rethink their whole employee value proposition. Do they need to revisit those policies, given what's coming out from the survey results? Do they need to see different modes or different models of working? Yeah. How do they get closer to the employees and understand them?
All right, Avkura, thank you for your time and your insights here on eNCA. That's Dayalan Govender from PwC. They're weighing in on what is termed the Great Resignation. This is the outcome of a survey that PwC conducted in 44 countries with about 52,000 participants. It really was massive, gaining insights into what's keeping people in their positions, what's got people thinking about moving on over the next 12 months.